ரிசர்வ் வங்கி ஆளுநர் ரகுராம் ராஜன் தற்போது மும்பையில் செய்தியாளர்களை சந்தித்து வருகிறார். அதன் நேரலையை பார்க்கலாம்.
It is wise to assume that GST implementation will necessarily increase inflation. And second, that whatever inflation that happens, whether it will be long-term or short-term, is something to think about. That it is quite possible it could be a one-time adjustment of prices even if there is inflation. And similarly with if some of the conditions of the pay commission, the allowances, for example, housing allowance, that also will be something that's passed through into prices over time, but it may be a one-time effect on inflation rather than a permanent effect. What as monetary policy, the monetary policy setters have to be aware of is whether this feeds into more generalized inflation. And that is what they have to worry about. That is something the RBI will be worrying about going forward. On the second question was, I'm sorry, transmission. Yes, I mean, look, we would be happier if there was more transmission. I do understand some of the difficulties the banks have. And my sense is that as this process of cleanup happens, and as the economy recovers and credit demand also picks up, you will see more possibility of transmission.
Supriya, one question, please.
This is 3, 2, 1. Thank you very much. Sir, I wanted to follow up on this inflation bit. You sound worried about inflation. You are flagging off concerns, but somehow your policy doesn't talk about the GST inflation impact at all, even though you're talking about the 7th pay panel and you're talking about household expectations rising in turn. So that's question number one. I will just follow up on NPAs for a bit because you've given a long answer and Mr. Mundra did exemplify that further, but are you satisfied with what's that done, and do you worry there could be some amount of backtracking? After you're gone, you've decided to kill the cruel joy that you spoke about in the last policy, but I'm just taking a liberty to ask you that second question.
Okay. Now I forget the first question. GST, look, it's premature to talk about the inflationary impact of GST when we don't know what the rates will be. As the rates are set, one can get a better estimate. And as I said, the experience of other countries, for example, Malaysia, has been that the inflationary impact, in their case, there was an inflationary impact, but it was short-lived. What is important is we have to see that the price adjustment, if there is one, conditional on GST coming in, doesn't become generalized inflation. A lot depends on which prices go up, which prices come down. Some prices may also come down. And are these salient prices, not so salient prices? So I think it's premature at this point.